Hi everybody, it's Sandy Smith-Leva. This is another edition of Brain Food for Accounting Leaders. And this week we're going to be talking about reframing, which is one of the more powerful and profitable tools that I use every single day. It's in the realm of balance. And reframing is actually a psychological term. Psychiatrists and psychologists might use it. It's seeing a situation from a different point of view. And there are two good uses that really happen that you can benefit from in business. You can be putting yourself in the client's shoes using reframing, which has been incredibly powerful for me because it gives me the ability to serve you guys better when I can put myself in your shoes and figure out what your needs are and how I can meet them based on the skill set that I have. And also turning a negative into a positive is another way that you can use reframing just to move yourself into a more positive mood. So we can practice this. For example, what happens if you are in the post office line and there's a woman complaining about the slow service and rising postage prices? Well, this has happened to me. And I said, wow, you know what? You should go to India and stand in line at that post office. Or, and then, it's all about reframing and perspective, right? And then, so I'm sure that she was frustrated or maybe she just wanted to talk. So that's kind of reframing and figuring out where she's coming from and then maybe reframing the whole situation. And then you can also say, how do you look at a customer who calls about a complaint? Well, initially we might be threatened, but what we need to do is we need to listen and say, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that happened to you, because they're probably feeling stupid that they had to call you and they couldn't figure it out themselves. So, so we need to be empathetic about that rather than threaten, because they're probably feeling a little bit they're feeling like not real confident when they call you. All right, and then also, how do you look at a customer that's late for their appointment? That can be very frustrating for us as accountants because we value time and being on time so much. It could be that they're sloppy, but it also could be that they had, something very significant that made them late. How do you look at a coworker who has a habit that just gets on your nerves? Of course, that's the first thing that we miss once we get away from that coworker, right? So those are a couple things that you can practice on reframing when you have a peer who is negative. Can you move them into positive, or can you just nod and say, okay, and not get into their negativity with them? And then when you have a client that asks about your bill, do you feel threatened? Maybe it's just a question. Maybe it's a valid question. Maybe we made a mistake. All right, so when framing works really well, you can put your ego aside, and then basically it's around stop thinking about yourself or what you're going to say next or what your emotions are, but instead listen and figure out where the person is coming from. That's the main thing. You want to just figure out where the person is coming from, and then so that's number one. Another way you can use reframing is to put yourself 1 month in the future, and if you're upset about a particular person or a situation or action, in 1 month, how important will this be? It helps you with perspective. You can also put yourself at a completely different location. If you're in your favorite beach location, how would you respond differently? And then this is a little morbid, but putting yourself a few months from your last days on Earth, now how would you see the situation? All right. And this, is to invoke your better self in terms of behavior around other people. So your action item, reframing can be used when there's a negative situation or when there's a situation that feels confrontational to us. and or just a situation where we want to improve our empathy and understand really where the other person is coming from. So reframing really helps to bridge the gap between differences between people. Such a powerful tool. So what I recommend that you list the last couple challenges you had at work that caused you to experience stress or negativity, and then practice reframing them into the positive. The classical example of this is if you see women huddled together in front of a church and they're crying, what do you think about? Do you think about funeral or do you think about wedding? Right? It could be in either situation. Until we really go and work with the person, we don't really know what their state of mind is. So reframing helps us keep our minds open around connecting with people better. All right, so that's it for this week. We'll see you next week.